Joining me now, Arizona Democratic Congressman Ruben Gallego. And Congressman, look, there is no one who will listen to those families who doesn't understand their frustration, who doesn't understand their pain, and who doesn't understand that they have a right to get those answers. Do you feel confident as we sit here right now, especially given the fact that so much misinformation came out in the early hours and days after the shooting, that this Justice Department review will get to the bottom of what happened?
I do think the Justice Department review will get to the bottom of it, of how the incident occurred and why people were not reacting the way they were supposed to react. And mind you, there was some very strong training that should have been going into place from right away. And had they actually followed the training, I think there's a lot more kids that would have been saved. But there also has to be another question is, why were the politicians engaging in this misinformation? Did they know they were engaging in this misinformation from day one? Because a lot of what we were hearing right away did not match the information that was being spread by local Texas politicians. So I think that's another question that we have to ask.
Let's start with some of the things that you folks in Congress are looking at. One specific proposal, and it does seem like there maybe is some agreement on it, is to address red flag laws. Obviously, there are people who are skeptical. Republicans will get behind this or anything else. Do you share that skepticism? If not red flag laws, where else do you see the potential perhaps for the two sides to come together?
I unfortunately am skeptical. I think until you get rid of the filibuster, a lot of Republicans are going to use that as an opportunity to slow down any real gun safety regulations. What I'm hearing is not red flag laws. I'm hearing they're going to give grants to states so they could establish red flag laws. So not necessarily that you're going to actually do that. When in fact there is some really good laws on the books that are seen all over the country. In Florida, under a Republican governor, state Senate, state House, and now Senator Rick Scott, they did institute red flag laws that have been effective in stopping a lot of people from getting weapons and taking away weapons from people that were potentially harmful. Number two, if you wanted to do something, there's no way that a young man at the age of 18 should be able to get a weapon that we use in war. The fact that he would turn 18 was able to just to go and legally buy this and then turn around and slaughter kids is something that you can stop by essentially doing two things. Number one, people under the age of 21 should not be able to use those type of weapons. We don't allow them to buy handguns. And number two, universal background checks. So that way they can't go through a back door and get these types of weapons. Those are the two things that could happen. But until you have a Senate that's willing to get rid of the filibuster, we're going to have very piecemeal approaches to this. And then we're going to be talking about another school slaughter and massacre, unfortunately, probably in a couple months.
You mentioned Rick Scott, and I wonder if there is something in looking at what exactly Florida was able to do after the horrific shooting there. I mean, one of the things you hear is that Republicans are worried about whether or not they'll be able to keep their jobs. And as an article in the Washington Post points out, Scott went on to defeat Bill Nelson in 2018, even after his NRA rating was downgraded from an A+ to a C. Do some members of Congress believe too much about the power of the NRA or what price they might have to pay if they vote for common sense legislation?
Some members of Congress are just too selfish. Who cares about your ratings? Who cares about your NRA rating? Who cares about your reelection? We have one job that many of us run for, and that's to protect our constituents, to protect lives. And we have an opportunity to do it. What else are you elected for? Why else do you sacrifice time away from your family if you're not going to actually do your job to protect people? And are you just going to allow this to keep happening over and over and over again and pretend that there's nothing that we can do about it? It doesn't have to be this way. We have to stop normalizing this. This is America. We're supposed to have, our children are supposed to have better lives than what we grew up in. And a lot of us can't really answer that anymore. A lot of us can't say that our kids are going to have a better life. I was lucky enough to graduate high school in 1998. There was one or two school shootings, in my high school career. I don't remember any types of, shooter drills or anything like that. But now the children of people my age are going to have to go through shooter drills. Like, why are we doing that? This doesn't happen in any other part of the world. We don't have to conform to this. We don't have to accept this. And we certainly don't need politicians to worry about their career versus the life and career of all these kids that are never going to experience it. That's a sad statement that they're even thinking about it that way.
Congressman Ruben Gallego, thank you so much on this Memorial Day for talking with us.